The kitchen smelled like cinnamon and quiet. A half-written song lay open on the counter, lyrics smudged where her hand had paused mid-line. Travis's phone buzzed once, lighting up the room with a name she hadn't seen in months. She almost ignored it. Almost. But the screen didn't just glow, it spoke. A soft, trembling voice filled the air. "Hey, it's me. I know I shouldn't be calling, but there's something you need to hear." Taylor froze. The pen slipped from her fingers. She knew that voice, and it wasn't supposed to be here.
She replayed the voicemail once, then twice. Each time the same soft voice filled the kitchen, too gentle for the weight it carried. "I know this is probably the last thing you expected, but it can't wait." Her tone was careful, almost rehearsed, like someone holding their breath through every word. It wasn't anger. It wasn't nostalgia. It was something else. Something caught between panic and regret. Taylor's pen hovered above her notebook, the ink bleeding into a small dark spot on the page. She tried to keep listening, but her mind was already racing. Who would sound that nervous talking to Travis? Then the pause came. A breath, shaky and small, and the name in her mind surfaced before the voice even said it. Kayla. The sound of it twisted the air around her, not because it hurt, but because it didn't make sense. That part of Travis's life was supposed to be over, buried under touchdowns, concerts, and red carpet smiles. So why now? Why this message? And why did her voice sound so close to breaking? Taylor's heartbeat synced with the ticking clock on the wall. The screen dimmed, but she couldn't look away, like the phone itself had turned into a secret too fragile to touch. She pressed play again. The voice cracked mid-sentence, just before the message cut off. "It's not about us, but there's something you need to know." Taylor's breath caught. The room felt smaller now, heavier, like the walls themselves were listening. She looked around, at the pen, the notebook, the phone still glowing faintly on the counter, and realized her calm afternoon had just ended. Whatever that voicemail was about, it wasn't random. And deep down, she already knew it wasn't going away.
Taylor sat back in her chair, the last echo of Kayla's voice still humming in her head. Her first instinct was to call Travis, to ask, to accuse, to understand. But another voice, quieter and more dangerous, told her to wait. What if it was nothing? What if calling him made it worse? She traced the edge of her notebook with her thumb, trying to steady her thoughts. But everything inside her was trembling. Not from anger, but from the unbearable weight of uncertainty. They had promised honesty. They had built their relationship on it. And yet, here she was, holding a secret that wasn't hers to have, one that had slipped through the static of a voicemail. Taylor walked to the window, watching the Kansas City skyline blur behind the glass. Her reflection looked calm, but her mind was running through every possible explanation. Maybe Kayla needed closure. Maybe it was an apology. Maybe, and this was the part that made her stomach tighten, maybe it was something Travis didn't want her to know. Her phone buzzed once. A reminder from her calendar. Studio session at 4 o'clock. She turned it off. Music didn't matter right now. Nothing did. For a moment, she considered deleting the voicemail, pretending it never played, letting the secret die before it could grow teeth. But then she thought of Travis, how he'd always said we tell each other everything, even when it hurts. And she realized she was trapped between two kinds of pain, the pain of knowing and the pain of never asking. The seconds stretched. The silence felt alive, like it was waiting for her to make the wrong move. Her fingers hovered over her phone. Should I tell him? Should I wait until he's home? What if this ruins everything? Her throat tightened. Somewhere deep inside, she already knew the truth. Silence would hurt more than honesty ever could. Still, she hesitated. because once the question left her lips, their story would never sound the same again.
The sound of his truck rolling into the driveway hit her like thunder. Too soon, too real. Taylor's hands were cold when she heard the door open. Travis stepped inside, still in practice clothes, his face tired but soft. "Hey," he said, dropping his bag. "What's wrong? You sounded—" "Your phone," she interrupted. Her voice was calm, but her pulse wasn't. "It played a voicemail while I was charging it." He blinked. "A voicemail?" "From Kayla." Silence. Thick. Sharp. The kind that doesn't fade, it lingers. Travis frowned. "Kayla?" "Yes," Taylor said. "Kayla Nicole. She called you 3 times in 2 days." He looked confused, then guilty, then something else, something unreadable. "I didn't answer," he said quietly. "I saw the calls, I just didn't think I needed to know." Taylor's voice cracked mid-sentence. "You promised we'd tell each other everything, Travis. Everything." He ran his hand through his hair. "I wasn't hiding anything," he said. "I just didn't want drama. I ignored it because it didn't matter." "Didn't matter?" Taylor repeated, stepping closer. She sounded scared. Not jealous, not emotional, scared. "You really think that's nothing?" He exhaled hard. "Taylor, please, you're overthinking this." "Am I?" She shot back. "Because your ex called you 3 times saying something about your past, and I'm supposed to act like it's normal?" He opened his mouth, closed it again. The muscles in his jaw tightened. "This isn't fair. You don't trust me?" Taylor's eyes glistened. "I do, but right now I don't understand you." The air between them thickened. Her words, his silence, both heavy enough to hurt. "Play it," she said, finally. "What?" "The voicemail. Play it. Let's hear it together." He hesitated. She saw it, the flicker of fear across his face, and for the first time, she wasn't sure who he was afraid for. Travis reached for his phone. His fingers trembled just slightly as he hit play. Kayla's voice filled the room again. "Travis, I know this is the last thing you expected, but it's important. It's about your past. I think—" The message cut off. The silence that followed was louder than her voice had been. Taylor swallowed hard. "Well?" she whispered. "Still nothing to tell?" Travis didn't look at her. His thumb hovered over the phone screen. Then he said, barely above a whisper, "Taylor, you're not going to like what I have to say." And what he said next changed everything.
"Taylor," Travis said, his voice low. "She wasn't calling about us. She was calling about me." Taylor's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" He rubbed the back of his neck, eyes fixed on the counter, as if the truth might be hiding there. "He called me months ago. I didn't answer then either." He paused. "Her doctor reached out after that. She's sick." Taylor's heart skipped. Sick how? "She's got something genetic? A heart condition." He swallowed hard. "The kind that can run in families." The words hung there, cold and heavy. Taylor's stomach twisted. "So she thinks you might?" He nodded slowly. "Yeah." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The hum of the fridge sounded louder than breathing. Taylor stepped closer. "Why didn't you tell me, Travis?" "Because I didn't want to believe it," he said, his voice cracking. "I thought if I ignored it, it would just go away. I didn't want you to worry, or my team, or my family." She stared at him, trying to process every word. "This isn't about jealousy anymore," she whispered. "This is about your life." Travis laughed under his breath, the kind of laugh people use to keep from crying. "I know. I just didn't want this to be real." He picked up his phone. "She said I need to get tested, that it might be the same condition that nearly killed my dad 2 years ago." Taylor froze. "Your dad's heart scare?" He nodded. "They said it was stress, but what if it wasn't?" Her throat tightened, all the anger drained out of her, replaced with something colder. Fear. "Travis," she whispered, "you can't ignore this." He looked up at her, eyes glassy, jaw set. "I know. That's why I'm calling her back." Taylor blinked. "Right now?" "Yes. If she's right, I need to know the truth." He dialed. The phone rang once. Twice. Then the line clicked, and a fragile voice answered. "Travis?" His grip tightened on the phone. "I'm here. And so is Taylor." A pause. Then a quiet breath. "Oh," Kayla said softly. "That's good. You both need to hear this." Taylor's pulse quickened. She could feel the shift in the room, like the air itself was holding its breath. Kayla continued, her voice trembling. "Travis, the doctor said if you have this condition and don't know it, playing football could kill you." Taylor's knees nearly gave out. Travis's face went pale. For a second, no one spoke. The silence was its own kind of scream. And in that moment, Taylor realized this was never about an ex or a voicemail or trust. It was about whether the man she loved would live long enough to keep his promise.
The room fell silent. Only the soft buzz of the phone remained, a hollow echo of what had just been said. Taylor's hands were trembling. Her eyes locked on Travis, the man who could silence stadiums, now standing completely still, his world suddenly smaller than a kitchen floor. He ran his hands over his face, like he was trying to wipe the truth away. "Kayla," he said quietly, "are you sure?" "I wish I wasn't," she replied. Her voice cracked. "I didn't call to scare you. I called because I couldn't live with myself if something happened to you and I'd stayed silent." Travis swallowed hard. "Thank you." The line went dead. For a long moment, he didn't move. Taylor didn't either. It was as if the air between them had turned fragile, like one wrong word could make it shatter. Finally, she stepped closer, slowly, carefully, like approaching someone on the edge of breaking. "Travis," she whispered. He didn't look up. She reached out, her fingers brushing his arm. That's when she saw it, the quiet fear in his eyes, the kind that only comes when someone realizes they're not invincible anymore. He said, "I didn't tell you because I was scared, not of the truth, but of losing everything I've worked for. Football, my team, my life." Taylor's throat tightened. "And what about me?" she asked softly. "Didn't you think I'd want to know if you were in danger?" He exhaled sharply, eyes wet. "I didn't want to see that look on your face, the one you're wearing right now." Taylor blinked back tears. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I don't care about the career. I care about you. And if something's wrong, we face it together." He finally met her eyes. And in that moment, the fear, the pride, the silence, it all cracked. Travis pulled her into his arms, burying his face in her shoulder. He whispered, "I'm sorry. I thought ignoring it would make it disappear, but it didn't. It just made me forget what matters." Taylor held him tighter. "You don't have to be the strongest person in the room all the time, Travis. You just have to stay in it." He nodded against her shoulder, his breath uneven, his heart pounding against her. For the first time that night, he let himself cry, not for the fear of dying, but for the weight of finally being seen. They stayed like that. No words, no noise. Just the sound of two people trying to remember how to breathe after almost losing everything that made life real.
The sun was already setting when the silence finally broke. Orange light spilled across the kitchen tiles, turning the chaos of the day into something almost peaceful. Travis sat with his elbows on his knees, staring at nothing. Taylor sat beside him, close enough to touch, but not forcing him to speak. After a long moment, he said quietly, "I'll call the doctor tomorrow." Taylor smiled faintly. "Good," she whispered. "That's all we need to do right now. Just start." He nodded, his voice rough. "You should have seen my dad when he had that scare. He tried to act like it was nothing. I guess I'm just like him." She looked at him, soft but certain. "Or maybe you're learning to be better than him," she said. "Maybe this time you face it before it's too late." He met her eyes then, and for the first time since the voicemail, there was something new behind them. Not fear, not denial, just acceptance. Taylor reached out and laced her fingers through his. His grip was strong, but gentle. The kind of hold that says, "I'm still here." "You know what's crazy?" she said with a small smile. "If I hadn't plugged in your phone, we might never have heard that message." Travis laughed softly, shaking his head. "Guess the universe really didn't want me skipping this one." She leaned her head against his shoulder. Sometimes the things we're not supposed to hear are the things we need the most. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, and sometimes the people we're scared to lose are the ones who remind us why we're still fighting." The clock ticked quietly. Somewhere outside, a car door slammed, and the sound didn't feel intrusive. It felt normal. Life moving forward. Taylor whispered, "You're gonna be okay, you know?" Travis looked down at her, eyes soft but certain. "So are we." And for the first time all day, she believed it. The voicemail had started as a mistake, a spark of fear, a ghost from the past, but somehow it had brought them back to the one thing they'd almost lost: each other. They sat there as the last light faded, quiet, steady, unafraid. Neither of them spoke again. They didn't need to. Some truths don't end with words. They end with understanding. Have you ever stumbled onto a truth you were never meant to hear? Something that changed how you saw everything. Maybe it wasn't a voicemail. Maybe it was a message, a glance, a sentence that slipped out at the wrong moment. What did you do? Did you stay quiet? Or did you face it? Because sometimes the hardest part of love isn't what we hear. It's what we choose to believe after. Tell me in the comments, would you have played that voicemail or trusted that silence was safer? If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about love, truth, and the moments that test everything we think we know. Because sometimes the calls we're afraid to answer are the ones that end up saving us.